It probably happen sooner than later. You never know what God got planned, you know?
It sounded like he wants to somehow work things out. Are you open to working things out with him?
He got the fans, like, you know what I'm saying? He got it, he went up, so now he got what he wanted. So now it's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, like I say, bro, I don't know him.
A birthday celebration that took a turn for the worst. Now cars filled with bullet holes. Why famous rapper Julio Foolio, who just turned 26, was shot dead early this morning.
At just 26 years old, Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio met a tragic end when he was shot and at a hotel in Tampa, Florida. But what's really eerie about this is that Foolio might have predicted his own death. Now, people are quick to point fingers at Yungeen Ace as the likely suspect, given the intense and well-known beef between the two, with both sides suffering losses and even making diss tracks about it.
Whole world wanna know why. Went out to eat on his birthday. 4 shot, 3 dead in the worst way. What we do? Ooh, I smoke. Baby, ooh, I smoke. Tiki.
But what really spooked fans was what Foolio said before he died. In a Vlad TV interview, when asked if there was any way to resolve the feud with Yungeen, Foolio ominously remarked that the beef would end sooner than later and that no one could predict God's plans. Some fans thought he was hinting at making peace, but others believed he meant that either he or Yungeen would have to die for the feud to truly end.
Could there be anything that could be done with, let's just say, you and Young and Ace sitting down together and saying, look, a lot of happened on both ends.
It probably happen sooner than later. You never know what God got planned, you know?
Sadly, it seems the latter interpretation was right. Foolio's death was followed by online trolling, and Yungeen released a diss track just hours after the news broke.
Solos and random choppers and in it. Catch it and do it, you know he finished.
And despite the tragic loss and the online chaos, the cops haven't made any arrests yet. So, how did this all unfold? Let's dive deeper. Julio Foolio, whose real name was Charles Jones, was born on June 21st and had just celebrated his 26th birthday. He grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, in a rough neighborhood known as Hilltop Village, or the Six. Foolio made a name for himself with some pretty controversial tracks that gained significant attention a couple of years ago. One of his most infamous songs, When I See You, has over 45 million views on YouTube. The video was shot at a grave site and mocked 3 men close to Yungeen Ace. Another track, List of Dead Ops, also stirred up a lot of controversies and has nearly 20 million views. In it, he listed over 50 names, which might have been an exaggeration, but still, it's mind-boggling to think about having that many enemies while trying to maintain a public presence. Throughout his career, Foolio faced multiple attempts on his life. Back in October 2023, he was shot in the foot in Jacksonville. This happened in a residential neighborhood less than a mile from a school. The black Dodge Challenger he was driving got riddled with bullets. His mom took to Instagram, pleading for prayers and posting, "Keep Foolio, my son, in y'all prayers. He was shot."
West 16th Street, about a person shot. An adult male in his mid-20s transported himself to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The victim sustained a single gunshot wound to the foot.
Before that, in November 2021, he was targeted again on the 2000 block of Ernest Street in Riverside. This time, Foolio made headlines for shooting back in self-defense and managing to escape. Shortly after, he went live on Instagram saying, "I shot back in self-defense. My gun is registered. And if I did something illegal, the police would have put me in jail. AN did miss 100 shots though. They must have thought I was lacking for sure." Fans were used to Foolio going live after these incidents. In July 2020, after getting shot in Houston, he allegedly got hit in the and still went live on Instagram to update his fans.
I'm mad I ain't dead, ain't it? You was mad I ain't dead on game. We can talk about yeah.
By 2023, Foolio had already survived 3 public attempts on his life, with 2 of them leaving him injured. Fast forward to 2024, Foolio had just turned 26 in June and decided to celebrate by throwing a pool party. Naturally, he went on Instagram to share the location, letting his followers know where the party was at. But as the day went on, things took a turn. According to his Instagram posts, it seems he had to switch locations to a Holiday Inn because, as one of his posts stated, the police had kicked him out of the original spot. Just hours after that update, Foolio's girlfriend went on X, formerly Twitter, with a heartbreaking message. "Y'all took my boyfriend from me. I hate y'all, and I won't be the only one crying." Shortly after her post, a video clip from the Holiday Inn parking lot surfaced on social media. It was confirmed that around 4:30 in the morning in Tampa Bay, Florida, Foolio was found shot along with 3 other people. Tragically, Foolio, the 26-year-old rapper celebrating his birthday, didn't survive.
Yes, so at this point, 3 people are in the hospital. We're working to get the best update on their condition. 1 person was pronounced deceased.
To really get a grasp on how this tragic moment came to be, we need to rewind the clock a bit. Back in 2021, there was a song that everyone on social media couldn't stop talking about, "Who I Smoke" by Youngeen Ace. This track didn't just make waves, it shed light on one of the deadliest rap feuds brewing for years in Jacksonville, Florida. These Jacksonville rappers had this unique style of dropping clues about revenge in their music videos, often using beats from classic pop songs and layering them with some of the most sinister lyrics. Youngeen Ace and his crew took Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles, flipped it completely, and filmed the video on a posh golf course, smoking and dancing while the lyrics celebrated the deaths of Foolio's crew from North Jacksonville. "Who I Smoke" went viral almost instantly, racking up 16 million views in just a month and getting reactions from all the big influencers online.
"Who I Smoke." Say it. No! Hey, Foolio, come get boy.
With such a bold move from Youngeen Ace, Foolio felt the need to hit back even harder. Foolio took a classic Fantasia song, remixed it, and for the music video, he printed out a massive poster of 2 of Ace's friends and his blood brother who had died beside Ace in a drive-by shooting outside a Japanese steakhouse. Ace was the only survivor in that car attack.
"Who I Smoke" came out of nowhere, went crazy, kind of made it more mainstream to where people who don't even know y'all, they were tapped into it.
I took it too far when they made a song first. Speaking, once the dead get involved, it's already too far.
He might be. Corbin ass was lost until they found him in that bag.
Corbin Johnson was last seen alive in July of last year. Then last Friday, a man discovered the victim's skeletal remains.
From that point on, Foolio's crew and Youngeen Ace's crew began a back and forth of diss tracks aimed squarely at each other, each song embedded with hidden messages and taunts. Now let's set the scene in Jacksonville, Florida, the biggest city in the continental U.S. by land area. Florida's always been a major player in the rap scene, but Jacksonville didn't really make it to the mainstream until these viral diss tracks between 2 rival crews put it on the map. On one side, you've got Youngeen Ace, leading the ATK gang, which mainly runs the west side of Jacksonville. On the other side, there's Foolio, the head of KTA, also known as Kill Them All. KTA is an alliance between Foolio's gang from the north side and another crew called Young and Reckless from the south side. Youngeen Ace, whose real name is Kayanta Bullard, was actually born in Chicago and is one of 12 brothers. Growing up without a father figure since his dad was in prison, Ace moved around a lot with his single mom before they finally settled in Jacksonville. Ace looked up to his uncle, but when his uncle passed away when Ace was just 14, he turned to the streets to cope with his pain and anger. This is where he found his passion for music and formed his crew, ATK. He started releasing music in 2014, but it wasn't until 2018 that he really began to gain traction with songs like No Witness, All In, and Find Myself. His raw and real lyrics quickly earned him a strong online following. Foolio, on the other hand, always had a knack for rapping, but didn't take it seriously until he dropped out of school in the 9th grade. Without money for studio time, he hustled hard to make things happen. In 2015, he started gaining attention with songs like Coming Up, which helped him start booking shows and earning money from his music. He branded himself with his crew, KTA, and over the next few years, his popularity in Florida's music scene skyrocketed. The beef between Youngeen Ace and Foolio kicked off around 2017 over what both sides say was a misunderstanding. It's a bit murky on what exactly happened, but it quickly escalated from a simple disagreement to a full-blown war. What makes this feud even more tragic is the number of mutual friends both sides had. While Ace and Foolio were never exactly tight, they shared friends like Queso. Queso, who is currently locked up with his father on charges for including the of Foolio's blood brother Bibby, played a significant role in the beef. After Bibby's Queso infamously wore Bibby jerseys and took photos like trophies. He even released an album in 2019 with images of his dead rivals on the cover, like a twisted Mount Rushmore of fallen enemies. Jacksonville police, or JSO, are notorious for not solving cases. In fact, 70% of in the city go unsolved. This led to the online catchphrase, JSO loves Queso, because Queso blatantly broadcasts his actions on social media. Despite this, all of Queso's songs have millions of views on YouTube, and he was even close with King Von. Queso even appeared in that infamous video where Quando Rondo and King Von were joking around before their tragic fallout.
Dirty ass!
But back in Jacksonville, Queso had built quite a reputation for his ruthless behavior. One of his most infamous stunts was trying to organize a real-life teen death match with his own cousins, who were part of the rival gang KTA.
What's up, where you at?
Come on, I do a team death match.
Right now?
Y'all two versus us two.
Look at my cousins. We look alike. My cousins don't want to talk.
One of these cousins was Lil 9. Just a month after their heated online exchange, Lil 9 was ambushed while leaving a gas station. He was shot 12 times by a rifle from another car, causing his vehicle to crash into a nearby tire shop. Tragically, Lil 9 was pronounced dead at the scene. While people at the tire shop were desperately trying to revive him, Lil 9's friend, who had been with him during the attack, was frantically walking around the store, filming the aftermath. Play. Queso wasted no time responding with a video, laughing at the situation. To make things even more twisted, Queso's blood brother, who was also Lil 9's cousin, recreated the gruesome scene from the tire shop in a video.
Get out! Get out!
Y'all play. Y'all play. Y'all play.
60 days later, Queso dropped a music video where he put a photo of his own deceased cousin, Lil 9, in a microwave.
The biggest step of them all, biggest host.
The craziest part of this whole feud is that all these guys were once friends. Queso met Youngin Ace in the 9th grade, and they had been tight ever since. But Foolio likes to remind Queso that back in 2015, he used to hang out with them and even had the nickname 6 Block Queso because of his affiliation with Foolio's gang, 6 Block. Even Youngin Ace admitted he was a fan of Foolio's music before their beef got out of control. But a series of unfortunate events forced everyone to pick sides quickly. It all came to a head at a block party in South Jacksonville, which was in Y&R territory. A crew led by Y&R Mookie and his right-hand man, Slugga T. Ace and his gang showed up to the party and got into an argument with Y&R's leader, Mookie. Shots were fired, and a bullet grazed Mookie. Slugga T fired back, but Ace and his crew managed to escape, leaving the situation tense and volatile. To make matters worse, Mookie was already friends with Foolio's cousin, which made it easy for Y&R and Foolio's gang to form an alliance under the name KTA, or them all, with a shared enemy, Youngin Ace and his crew, ATK. The situation in Jacksonville was getting worse, with rate climbing year after year. In 2017, Youngin Ace dropped the song Go to War, which was pretty much an open challenge to anyone opposing ATK. Not long after, Ace's home got shot up, signaling that things were about to get really intense. But the real tipping point came a few months later. One of Ace's friends went out looking for revenge after he got He knew exactly where the was staying, at Foolio's cousin's house on the west side of Jacksonville. Determined to get payback, he snuck into the house by throwing a brick through the sliding door and entering from the back. He started shooting with no mask and no gloves, aiming for the but instead ended up K-wording Foolio's cousin, Zion, and wounding a 9-year-old girl. This tragic incident marked the real beginning of the war between ATK and KTA. Zion's death was a catalyst that set off a chain of retaliations.
Thomas broke out a sliding glass door, walked inside, and began shooting, hitting a 9-year-old and a teenager.
Not long after Zion's death, his sister was shot 14 times in an attempt to prevent her from testifying in court. Miraculously, she survived. The friend of Yungeen Ace who did the shooting was eventually sentenced to life in prison, but this was just the beginning of the violence. With Foolio's cousin being the first to die in this beef, KTA was looking to make a swift and powerful statement of revenge. Ace's music career was starting to gain serious traction around this time. His new song, F That, was getting millions of views on WorldStar in just a few days, and fans were already comparing him to NBA YoungBoy. Then, just a week later, tragedy struck.
4 young men were in this car when they were shot. The vehicle pulled up to their Chevy sedan, opened fire, then took off. And one is in critical condition at the hospital.
It was a Tuesday in June 2018. Ace, his brother, and 2 friends were headed to Wasabi, a Japanese steakhouse, to celebrate his friend's 18th birthday. Everyone was in high spirits, taking photos and enjoying the evening. But they had no idea that they were being watched the whole time. Rivals had found out their location through Ace's Instagram story, where he posted photos outside the steakhouse and even recorded his friends eating inside. Their enemies waited outside, watching them, and then followed them as they left the restaurant and drove along the highway. When they reached a red light, the shooters opened fire on the passenger side of Ace's car, Kay wording his 2 best friends and his brother and leaving Ace in critical condition. It was a quadruple shooting, and the news spread quickly. Foolio got word before anyone else and mistakenly thought Ace was dead.
Them boy lost the Fortnite match. Chill coming up, man. Cold summer alert, man. 2-3 pack, man. Ace pack, bitch.
Of course, Yungeen Ace managed to survive that brutal attack, but it left him devastated, losing his brother and 2 best friends.
Stop at a red light. All you heard was, nah. Pop, 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 pop. And when that bitch hit my hand, I dropped my phone. He called by my real name. He like, Kente, I can't move. Kente, I can't move. Kente, I can't move. Like, just hearing that, I can't move. Just fuck my mind up. Play through my all day.
Despite the tragedy, the attention he was getting started to boost his career. Even NBA YoungBoy reached out to him via FaceTime to collaborate on a song. This motivated Ace to create his biggest hit ever, Pain, which blew up and now has over 60 million views on YouTube. However, the violence didn't stop. Every time Ace released a new track, his rival, YNR Mookie, would drop a diss track with the same title, turning the feud into a deadly musical back and forth. The situation got so intense that the Jacksonville police had to step in. They created a special unit called the Violence Reduction Strategy Team, dedicated to analyzing music videos from both sides, looking for any clues. The assistant chief even mentioned in an interview that the music wasn't just for entertainment. It was real and deadly serious. In February, things took another tragic turn. Foolio's little brother Bibby became the next target. Bibby was only 6 years old and was coming home from school, just hanging out in his own neighborhood at the Hilltop Apartments on the north side of Jacksonville. He was chilling on a gazebo in the courtyard with a friend, both of them looking at their phones. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. The boys dropped their phones and ran in different directions, desperately trying to find cover. In just 10 seconds, 60 rounds were fired. Bibby was K-worded instantly. A year later, court documents were unsealed, revealing that the police had named Queso as the gunman responsible for Bibby's. According to Zezagbents, Queso and his crew had been circling the complex for hours, waiting for the right moment. When they finally saw Bibby, they sprang into action, unleashing a barrage of Draco rounds. Queso allegedly walked up to Bibby, who was on the ground trying to shield himself from the gunfire, and executed him at close range before fleeing the scene in a gray Nissan. Adding insult to injury, Queso had a habit of wearing Bibby jerseys and posting photos on his Instagram, celebrating the as if it were some kind of trophy. This kind of behavior only fueled the hatred and violence between the rival gangs. For Foolio, losing his brother and his cousin in such a short time was a massive blow. The grief was overwhelming, but 2019 also marked a pivotal year for his music career. He was dropping hits that were racking up millions of views, one after another. All independently, Foolio was becoming a significant name in Florida, yet he hadn't quite reached the level where he could tour the country solo. Meanwhile, his rival, Yungeen Ace, was booking shows across multiple states,
Just a month after Foolio's brother was unalived, Ace had a performance at a nightclub in Waycross, Georgia. After the show, Ace and his crew headed back to their hotel to chill by the pool. Out of nowhere, an SUV pulled up,
and a group of guys jumped out, blazing. Queso was there with Ace, and he didn't hesitate for a second to shoot back. During the shootout, Queso's friend Rallo was K-worded by the pool. What made things even more messed up was that only Ace's side got arrested for firing back, while the other gunman vanished without a trace. Queso didn't hold back in his song Been Dead, with lyrics that went, "Should've offed me in Waycross," and "They hopped out with the K's. Me and Scotty Beesingiak were on the same page." This was the same music video where he notoriously put a photo of his cousin Lil 9 in the microwave. Fast forward a month after dropping that track, and Queso found himself arrested for a completely different alongside his father, who was charged as an accessory after the fact. The story goes that they were avenging a diss by a rival rapper named KTA Lil Buck. Buck had dissed Queso's older brother, who died in a brutal ambush. 2 cars had rolled up on a van full of Queso's relatives, blocked them off and spraying 100 bullets into the vehicle. This feud was beyond personal. It was a vicious cycle of revenge that seemed never-ending. Lil Buck was more than just a fellow rapper to Foolio. He was a close friend, and his death was a devastating blow. TK allegedly got the drop on Buck, rolling up on him at 11 in the morning while he was applying for a job. It was a calculated assassination. Afterward, Queso posted on his Insta story bragging, "I could dude, then get my toes done."
Receiving a pedicure with the caption, N-word, then go get my toes done.
This wasn't the first hit to happen at a job site. Another rapper, Jump Out, who had beef with Ace and ATK, was K-worded while waiting in line to apply for a job at an Amazon warehouse. This incident inspired the infamous line in Who I Smoke, where they rap, found out where he was working and clocked him out. The war between these crews had escalated to a point where no one was safe, no matter what they were. Shootings could happen anytime, anywhere. Foolio had lost a dozen friends to Murder3r or prison. Mookie and Slugga T were behind bars, and even Foolio's girlfriend had been shot in the head.
Y'all thought I was dead. Y'all ain't underscored this yet, boy.
Youngeen Ace is still carrying a bullet casing from that quadruple shooting outside the Wasabi Steakhouse. Then the hip-hop community was rocked by the tragic news of Foolio's death. It was a harsh wake-up call about the danger of gang violence. Foolio had survived 4 attempts on his life in the past 4 years, but the 4th one tragically ended his life. He was while celebrating his birthday, a stark reminder of the relentless cycle of violence. People often say, when you put gas on fire, it just makes things worse. This situation was a perfect example of that. It showed that escalating violence only leads to more death and sorrow.